Welcome back, everybody, to the High Vibes with Binu podcast. And today I have a super special guest. She was one of our panel members at Manifest Her in early February. Her name is Vanessa Ortali. She's just a gem of a human. Like when I meet women like this who are so inwardly connected, because that's how I operate my daily life, I feel an instant connection. So I can't wait for you to listen in. Let me just tell you a little bit about Vanessa. Vanessa is a mindset and business mentor, a speaker, and the host of the podcast Heart and Mind Talks. She advises ambitious women and successful entrepreneurs who want to align their outer success with a deeper sense of purpose, clarity, and peace. She has built a global community of over 140,000 women, works with high-level clients around the world, and is the author of the upcoming book, My Brand is Peace. I literally can't wait for that. Friends, let's just jump into this interview. It's going to be so good. Welcome to the High Vibes podcast. I'm Binu, your host. My goal with every episode is to leave you feeling better, shining your light a little bit brighter than before you press play. Let's dive in. Oh, Vanessa, welcome to the High Vibes with Binu podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm really excited. I know we've met a few times in person, and every time I see you, and I just feel like I'm at home, and I feel so safe around you, and like you're my people. So I'm really excited to have this conversation recorded.
And you know, before we hit record, we were just talking about paying attention to the things that are happening with our clients and in our lives. And you just said one. So you've already just supported me by saying that I make you feel good and safe. I've heard this 3 times in the last week. And it's almost like this awareness of who I am and what I am offering to the world without even trying anymore. And this is something I really want to talk about, because whether we call it embodiment or self-trust, there's something here that I think, so many women could learn from this. So let's actually just dive into this. Cool. Truly, like self-trust. Honestly, it's like you said the words trust and stillness to me. I'm like, oh yeah, she's my people. Where's she been all my life?
Yeah.
So first, let's give my audience. They don't know you. I'd love for them to know like your origin story. Like, how did you become this mindset business coach from what I see, a super young age?
Yeah. So I actually did corporate training and executive coaching, which I loved. And I did that almost straight out of business school. I loved business school, but everyone was recruiting for all these CEO, or not CEO jobs, but the consulting and accounting and all the regular jobs that people get out of business school. And I just always knew I had this little feeling inside me that this is not for me. I knew I needed something more. I needed to have positions where I could be of more leadership and really step into my own. So I found a executive coaching company that I ended up working for. And it was amazing because I got all my training through them, which was great at the time. But then still, I had this little nudge that there's something more. And we had a client that was, I guess you could quote like a nightmare client at the time, but it was just that little extra nudge I needed that I knew I needed to leave. And when I left, I did not have a plan. I was not the type of person that had, this is what I'm going to do for the next 6 months, and this is my job lined up. I literally just left, and I knew I would figure it out. And I started consulting on my own, and I literally would go to different trade shows and try to network and meet people and businesses at the trade shows. And that's how I made ends meet in between that. And then really starting to realize, I'm always the person that people go to. I'm always that. And I was on my own mental Olympics journey. And I call it the mental Olympics because I took it very seriously. It was wintertime. And I literally, at the time I was single, living in the city, very different life than I have now, but I had space to literally get in bed at 5 p.m. And I would journal and read and meditate, and I would spend hours in meditation a day. And I know that's not possible for everybody, depending on when that happens in your life, but that was possible for me at the time. And then I realized I'm learning a lot of tools that I would love to continue to share with people that just continued to add on to my corporate training background. And I started working with entrepreneurs because I also realized that there was a huge gap in the market where I learned all these things in business school and I was not even prepared to run my own business. So there was a point in my business journey when I went off on my own. I didn't know how I was going to pay for my mortgage. I didn't know how I was going to buy food. It was a very scary time. But I also knew I was going through that because so many people feel that, the financial stresses. And still, how do I continue to hold my mindset and my inner peace through all of that? And inner peace has always been my cornerstone of no one and nothing is worth me losing my inner peace over. And that's always what I come back to. And so from there, I started coaching entrepreneurs and haven't looked back. I just really feel that it is my purpose. And although it continues to evolve, and during, you know this, but I also accidentally started a women's community during that whole process.
Yes, I want to know more. I love how you say accidentally.
Totally an accident. Yeah, which I think is also so beautiful because you talk about spirituality all the time. And I know in our world, there's a lot of control in us needing to figure things out. And the really beautiful part about this accident women's community was that I just kept following my next step. And I just kept following, hey, I want to meet more women. Oh, let me get online. I went online and tried to find women online to meet on apps. And I thought, man, this is just taking way too much time. So I'm going to start some events. And then I'm just going to invite everybody I know. And people can invite everyone they know. And then I thought, this is way too much work. I don't want to have to invite everybody every time. So I started a Facebook group. And from there, I started running events almost every week and created a community of almost 140,000 women internationally.
Wow.
Yeah, it was shocking and had its own struggles because it grew so quickly and unintentionally. But it's really been an interesting evolution.
So what year was this?
2016.
2016.
Yeah. So
I love that, I so much already. I think people listening, it's like, how far, I don't know, we're 6 minutes in and there's so many things that you've already said. And I know as a young, how old were you in 2016?
Well, okay. So when you said it started, my women's community started in 2016. So that would have been 10 years ago. I'm turning 40. So I was 30.
So you were 30. Yeah, there's something, and a lot of us talk like this, I'm in my 50s. It's like the things that were so easy for us to do in our 20s. I heard you say, I just had this nudge or I had this idea and I just went to trade shows. Where right now, and I don't know if it's after the pandemic, but so many women have a hard time just going out there to show up. How do I show up as my true self, right? Imposter syndrome and everything. But something about Vanessa in her late 20s had no problem going out there to trade shows to almost sell yourself and talk about yourself and then get clients. I think that's just something to take in from all of us, no matter how old we are. It's as long as you follow what you're passionate about and that, I've heard you say higher self, and I always say our inner spirit, our intuition, right? That is the part of us that knows what's right for us, what's going to feel peace. And I am, oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever talked to any other woman like this where I feel the same way. It's my inner peace was my GPS. And if it took away my peace, I was questioning it. And I even wonder, where did that start for you?
Oh, it started because on my journey, I was following a lot of entrepreneurs that were really aggressive, very hustle oriented. You have to wake up at 3, you have to wake up at 4, whatever that was. And it created so much anxiety in my body that I would wake up in a panic thinking, what do I have to do today to be successful? And that feeling never went away. And I knew there was a gap between who I wanted to be and how I was feeling inside. And this is such a silly example. I watched the movie Inside Out. It's a Pixar movie.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Vanessa, swear, past lives, we must have had. That one hit me deep.
Right? So I'm watching this movie, and if you haven't seen it, they they depict the emotions and thoughts in your brain as bubbles. And there's sadness and happiness and anxiety. And I thought to myself, oh, what are the bubbles in my head? And they were all sad. And I thought, well, that sucks. Because on the outside now, I'm starting to build a business. I'm appearing to be successful, but I don't feel successful and I feel really sad. And that's actually when I knew there was a gap between my thoughts and what was going on in my head and what was actually appearing in my life. And I just knew that I needed to change, which is when I went into my mental Olympics era.
I love that. I love the mental. So what's funny about that movie is I was watching it with my kids when they were younger, like they're in their 20s now. So I don't know when that was, maybe 10 years ago. And I remember being in the movie theater, like looking at them, and I was doing coaching and I was working with a spiritual coach, and I'm looking at them like this is incredible. Like this is a like massive movie for like inner peace and inner joy, like joy to come out. And they're looking at me like, okay, mom, it's just a cartoon. I'm like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
This is so powerful. And I've noticed this like with movies, right? Like they're bringing these pieces subtly. And what I believe is for us humans to get the message without it being so drastic. And then there's some of us that really see it and make shifts. But what I'm really hearing from you, which I went through as well, was that disconnect. So I called it a disconnect between how I was feeling inside, but then how I was able to hold it all together and portray my confidence in myself on the outside. And I didn't like the way it felt. Like it just felt wrong. Like I was like, what am I doing? This doesn't feel good. So going through that, where did the gap like lesson? And I, and I love that you said like you meditated for hours. You must have learned that in your coaching program.
Well, yes and no. So I grew up in a slightly different situation in the sense that almost my entire life, my mom was in and out of battling a cancer journey. So I lost my mom when I was 18 and she had cancer twice and was in remission in between. But in her cancer journey, she sought different modalities of healing and she didn't want to go by herself. So she would bring me
with her.
So I started meditating and going to meditation circles and sound baths at like 13, 14. And so I just didn't know any different. And so even in university, I was meditating before exams. So I was really lucky to be exposed to that, even though it was because of an unfortunate situation.
Yeah. Well, here, another thing we have in common, unfortunately. So when you said sadness, that's what I dealt with for so long because I was 20 when my mom's cancer journey ended. And it's like you suppress all of it. You don't know where to put it. No one teaches us. But you're actually bringing up something that I didn't even realize because my dad, like we're Indian and they were bringing in these like healers from Toronto because we were in Thunder Bay and, we were reading from a prayer book and we never read from this prayer book, but my mom kept asking me to read from this prayer book for her. So I memorized this Indian prayer that I never knew, but it was so calming. You're just hitting something. Like, I think that's where my desire for inner peace came from. Because even after she passed, I would go back to that.
Wow.
Right. To connect. But this thing about, whatever the emotion is and the thoughts are around it, hidden deep within, it's going to show up at some point. And don't you see this? Like, doesn't matter how old we are now. I mean, I have clients in their 70s and then some in their 30s. It's whenever they are supposed to get this message of reducing the gap between how your thoughts and emotions are running on the inside and how you show up on the outside.
Yeah, totally.
And so let's just go here. Like you said something about trust and stillness are two of the most valuable leadership skills. And I truly believe you. It's like, let's get this message out, Vanessa. Like, let's talk about this. How do you help people strengthen the trust and stillness and use it as a leadership skill?
Yeah, for me, I also help point this out for people because I don't always see it. So if you can't see it on your own, find someone to point it out for you. But just knowing when do you abandon yourself? And you talked about self-trust, but you also talked about the little intuitive pieces, or when I was younger, I went to the conferences. It's how often do you get those little nudges and then you just ignore it?
Yeah.
Right? You actually build self-trust by every time you hear something. And it can be something so small. It can be something like, I need to breathe right now and I need to go get a cup of tea. It's just the smallest thing. Or, hey, I think I need to change my outfit because it's going to make me feel better. It can be the smallest things. And that's how we start to build self-trust. And we know you get this little feeling in your body. Maybe you're even at coffee with someone and you get this little feeling in your body that says, this has been great, but I think I'm ready to go. And then you stay past that point.
Yes.
And then, right, you just stay past that point and it doesn't mean anything. It just means you're ready to go and that's cool. So it's really just building that relationship with yourself so that you start to learn, how does your body, your intuition speak to you? And how do you actually listen? And that's how you build that self-trust, because I truly believe, and that's, coaches are great and we have our place, but I truly believe that our place is to pull out the knowingness inside of our clients. We're not giving them anything.
Yes.
They know what you guys, whoever is listening to this, you know your next step, you know what's right for you, you know your purpose. And sometimes we just need a little push or a little guide to help pull that out of us. And that is great. Coaches still have coaches. I still have mentors, but it's not about getting anything outside of you. The most important relationship you're ever going to have is the one with you and you. So if you don't trust yourself, then how are you supposed to trust anybody else? And how is anybody else supposed to trust you? That self-trust piece is just
everything. Honestly, it's like everything. Like yeah. And I actually just want people that are listening to this right now to really take this in, because I love that you just said that. It's about pulling out the knowingness in our clients. And I love that. And I 100% agree. And this is what's tricky actually sometimes when I'm actually talking to a potential client and, making the sale on me knowing, like, we can catch them where they're caught in this overthinking or not getting still enough to hear that voice, because we hear that a lot, or not honoring a boundary. And I love what you said about boundaries and I want to go there. But that is the piece, like this inner knowing. This is the thing I always say. It's like our journey is to really start to know ourselves and self-discover, but to take action from that intuition and that higher self. But we know why, right, Vanessa? Like let's just talk about that. Like, why don't people trust? Like, is it that everyone's moving so fast? Is it that nobody taught us to trust because we really were taught to listen to everybody else but ourselves? Like, what do you think it is? I'm curious if it's the same.
I mean, I think both things you said are valid, right? We're in this culture where everybody's always so busy. It's very noisy. It's very loud. People are always giving their opinions. And then the fear creeps in. We're scared to do the wrong thing. We're scared how people are going to react and respond. So then we make ourselves small. We ignore our voices out of fear, out of insecurity. And then we also are just moving so fast that we don't take time to listen. And then when we do hear it, we don't do anything with it. We ignore brush it under the rug. We wait. And I think that is the biggest disservice. When you have the little nudge, you have to move with it. If you don't, it will either get louder or you start to break down that trust and you actually stop hearing it. It's always there. It's just taking the time to listen and creating the space every single day. It truly is a practice, creating the space every single day to show up as you. And that's also my goal now. It's so funny because we do live in this world where it is very noisy. And I have something to mention because I know we've been to a bunch of conferences and together as well. And it was really interesting. The last conference I went to, I noticed even how much I've evolved, because I used to go to conferences and get coaches and follow people on YouTube or Instagram, whatever, for information. I was seeking the knowledge outside of me. And I thought, oh, maybe someone is going to have the secret.
Yes.
Someone is going to have the answer, right? And your clients, I'm sure you get this all the time. Well, tell me your structure. Tell me your systems. And I'm thinking to myself, you don't need any structure, any systems. And yes, some of those things are helpful. You know, they help me build my business. But at the end of the day, you need you and that inner peace. Because if you don't have that, I coach many successful entrepreneurs that have already made multiple 7 figures and feel the sadness that we were talking about, or the anger. Like, it doesn't go away just because you're successful. If anything, it amplifies it.
Yes, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
You know, Vanessa, you brought up something that I actually just experienced at an event, not the event that I hosted, but I now go into these events very differently. Like, I even think like 2 years ago, I was going into an event going, okay, this speaker, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, even this time, she was a woman that's had huge success on YouTube. And the 2 year ago version of Binu would have been like, oh man, I need to get on YouTube. Like, that looks like the way. And this time I listened to her and I just took away one thing. And I didn't even think, oh, I need to change my whole business and make millions on YouTube. But what I really noticed is I sat there a lot quieter than ever. I even went to a social gathering with a bunch of university friends this weekend. And I was telling one of my friends, and she was surprised because usually I talk a lot. I can talk easily. But I noticed, like, now working on that inner peace and that stillness and that, like, connecting to my inner spirit, is I can feel it quickly when I'm starting to get disconnected from it. So it's almost like I've protected this piece within me so much. So at the event, I noticed I was going inward more and just thinking, okay, what is landing for me right now? What's one thing that is important? And I'd write it down. And I wasn't thinking about throwing the whole business away with the bathwater anymore. But in the friends environment, I noticed I just went inward and I started becoming like a glorified listener. Yet before, like, this was like 10 people. So lots of noise. Like, not bad noise, just everybody talking and excited to be around each other. But I noticed, like, my mind and body, like my whole nervous system was kind of going through like what's happening. So when I go inward now and I just be still, it could look like Binu's not interested. It could look like I'm not engaging in the conversation. So what would you say? Because I've had this conversation with a lot of friends and clients, right? Like, if I show up as my true self, listening to my intuition or my body or my peace, someone's going to take me the wrong way and think I'm being rude and blah, blah, blah.
You're probably right. And I think you just have to ask yourself all the time, what do I need right now? And this is where your strength and trust becomes even more important. My word of the year, which I had shared at your conference, was REIGN, REIGN. And not from a queen standpoint, but if you take it that way, awesome. It's really just for me to reign in my power and really have that strength and foundation that nothing shakes me. And I'm not there yet, which is why it's my word of the year. I'm still really focusing on it. I've seen even such a shift over the past 3 months of this year. However, that question brings me back to that. It's, can I stay in my power regardless of how other people are responding and how other people are acting in my life? And that has to be okay. Because if it isn't, I will continue to abandon myself in situations and lose trust, lose stillness, and be ruminating on things that do not matter and do not serve me. So if I'm going to get even more picky about the thoughts in my head, I have to stop it. And I have to trust myself that I'm doing what's right for me, and that's okay.
And I love that, because that's exactly what I feel. So I love your word is REIGN, because I love talking about like this queen archetype that I was like really going down this rabbit hole. And I realized, oh, it can be taken as ego. Oh, I'm a queen, but actually it is this. It is standing in your peace power, in your knowing of who you are and what you're here to do in the world. And a lot of people listening to this don't have a business. So it's like, if what you're here to do is show up as your true authentic self and come from unconditional love. So your kids see you as that and role model that, or you come from limitless possibilities or you're believing in anything's possible and your kids learn that. That to me is the sweet spot of all of this. And that to me is why, yes, like bring on the queen energy, because it lights a fire in me. And I just think if I get to show up from unconditional love, the spiritual journey for me has been that, is really honing into what unconditional love is. Like the universe is unconditional love, and I have a piece of that in me. And I get to tap into that more than the fear thoughts and the sadness and the lack ideas. And the more I've practiced doing this, I know even in those situations of like social or business, no one can take me the wrong way. And I've had to learn to trust that. And it's not perfect. Like we're on a journey. So I think where we are farther ahead than where we were, and we're still on this journey. But that's helped me so much, is in those moments when I think, oh shit, somebody's going to misunderstand me. I just think as long as I'm coming from unconditional love for myself, maybe I need to explain myself later because my girlfriend thinks that I was like not interested. And every time, Vanessa, because I've done this, every time I've had to explain to help someone understand me, and I say like I had to do what was right for me, no one's ever gotten upset with me. Everyone has always understood, like 100%. And that's what I want people to know, because I think this conversation is so powerful for people to trust that inner knowing.
Yeah, I totally agree. You explained it so well, and it comes back to the boundaries part too that we were talking about, right? That I will be quite honest in saying I don't believe in boundaries. And I know I'm saying that flippantly, but it sounds dramatic, so I will explain. What I mean by that is so many people set these boundaries and they think, oh, if I'm going to this social event, this is how I have to be. Or if I'm dating or whatever with my children, they set these rules. And for me, the visual I get are bumpers on a bowling alley. Okay. And we set up these bumpers on the bowling alley to protect us, to make sure that we show up the way that we want to. The problem that I see with this is that we don't trust ourselves. Because if you think you need the guardrails up, then you don't trust yourself in that moment to tune in, to slow down like you're saying that you did at this event, to ask yourself, what do I need right now? How do I need to show up? And to trust that you're going to do what you need to do in that situation. And it's so much more powerful if you say, instead of pre-planning ahead of time, if you just say, I got this, I know. All you need to pre-plan are the questions that you ask yourself. If you need some time, go to the washroom. Mm-hmm. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? How am I feeling? Mm-hmm. And then trust that you'll be able to follow through and you're going to hear what you need in that moment.
I love that. It's interesting. You're just bringing up this idea of boundaries in a different way than I've been using the word, right? Like boundaries in terms of people putting up rules or guardrails to protect themselves, where I've seen boundaries in the last few years more as like when am I, just in my calendar, when do I stop coaching? I don't say yes to everybody anymore. I used to coach way until like 4 or 5 o'clock, which doesn't serve me. I am a morning person. I know that about myself. And after about 2:30, I feel that lull and I'm not in the highest place to serve, right? So that to me has been like a self boundary. Like that to me is honoring, knowing myself so well that I'm honoring myself, right? But the guardrail thing I appreciate, because at the last event I went to, they had a chill space, and we had this chill space last year at Manifest Her, and I needed it. Like I noticed, and I think this is a message I really want to leave people talking to today, is the more you tune in and the more you can feel the difference in your body when you're shifting. I started shifting around this like 2:30 mark. My hips were bothering me, so I knew I needed to stand up. But again, I don't want to interrupt the speaker. And I just thought to myself, I'll just be quiet. I'll duck down a little bit so I'm not blocking people's views. But my body was like, Binu, stand up. So I stood up at the back, and then I just heard go to the chill space. It's okay. You're not being rude. Go to the chill space. And it was exactly that. They had meditation headphones, and there was a few people in there. And that for me was like magic. And so what if people like really took this and did this in social situations. Did this when they go away for weekends with girlfriends or with couples. Like, I think this will be just so powerful because I think it's like you said, just go to the bathroom. I've done that many a times where I'm like, I just need a break from this conversation. It's not serving me. I'm getting all activated. And I go to the bathroom. I take a few deep breaths. I tap back in. I'm like, Binu, you're okay. You've got this. Just be yourself. So I love that you say certain things to yourself. And like I say this, just be yourself. That's actually been a game changer for me.
Yeah. And I really like the way you reframe the word boundaries. You know, like I said, I use it jokingly, but because how you described is a very healthy way to use them. Boundaries can be very helpful in family systems, in relationships, right? This is what I need and this is what I'm going to communicate. But a lot of times I just think that in our culture, when words get very popular, boundaries, manifestation, all the women empowerment, they start to morph. And then people start to not question, what does this actually mean to me? And how is this serving me? And how can I use this? Is this supporting me to show up as my best self? And even just the statement, and so I'm going to repeat it, questioning everything is something that has also really helped me on my journey. When I went through my mental Olympics, I questioned every thought, every belief. Is this me? Is this who I want to be? Is this serving me? And we start to realize how often we've picked up things from other people, teachers, family members, friends that are not ours. And if you're even in those social situations where you start to feel doubt, oh, I can't stand up because am I going to offend someone? Is someone going to be upset? Who's saying that? Is it your fear? Is it your insecurities? Is it a family member that you can actually identify? Or is it your highest self? And just start questioning, where is that little voice coming from? And is that the voice that I want to be when I'm in my queen era? Or is it someone that's actually holding me back to old patterns and beliefs that I don't want to be anymore?
And you know what's interesting is I love that, because what I'm getting in my head is like, let's leave everybody here with the permission to turn up the volume of your higher self. And it takes some practice. But imagine if you listen to that voice more. And I like you said something at the beginning, like one step at a time, just one baby step at a time, like going down, like we get to start hiking again in the trails because spring is here. And I remember I started doing this by trusting my intuition in moments that really didn't make a big difference in anybody else's life, but it was the practice. So I'd go down a trail and there would be a fork in the road and I would just trust myself. Okay, like which way do I go? I hear left, I go left. I don't even know why. I don't know what happened, but how many times have these synchronistic things happened now where I go left and it's like that woman that just messaged me on Instagram that I haven't spoken to in so long, I bump into her. Right. So these like spiritual synchronicities have started to show up, but I think that's a great way for people to practice. And even driving. I've done this before where I've said to my husband, I'm like he's like, which way should we go? I'm like, let's just trust our intuition. I don't know why, but this is what's really helped me trust. So I want people just to hear that, because that's one way I've done this. But
this is so funny. Like you've said this entire time, we are just soul sisters because it's something I do too. And you start to think, I think to myself, I need to go for a walk. And instead of planning where I'm going to go, I just take it one step at a time, right, left. And you start to hear how quickly your brain says, oh, when am I going to turn? And where am I going to turn? And you just have to silence it and just say, I don't know. I'll make a decision when I get to the light. And then at the light, you decide. It helps really keep you present and listening. And it's so cool that you do that too. I actually haven't heard anybody else say that
this is the message we need to get out to the world and the women, because I see this all the time. And even, I had a girlfriend a little while ago. So I'd say about a year ago, I started working on my quote unquote boundaries, because I was saying yes to things that I didn't want to go to. And then I felt drained. Right. And so those that are listening have been on this journey, right? Like the more I listened, I'm just like, oh my gosh, but those are some of my closest friends. But I think I was doing some things and there was somebody in the room that maybe was more judgmental than the friends I went to go be with. And then I felt drained. So I remember at one point, I thought to myself, I am just going to take this big, bold step. And if it does not feel right for me, I'm going to have to say no. And of course, you've probably been through this too. There was a couple situations where it was with some friends, and I knew in my body was reacting, going, heck no. It was a heck no. And so I just said to them, I probably made up a story, because at first it's like, that's what I did. I made up a story like, oh, my kids needed me. So it wasn't a big enough lie that if the universe was watching, nothing bad would happen. And I was like, I can't lie to the universe. And I remember one of my friends said, Binu, I've really noticed like you're honoring yourself more. Like it's really like she felt inspired because she felt like she couldn't say no to some things. And it's come with some challenges. I've had to have some conversations on the back end. And once you have that courageous conversation, everything's fine. Like I always think if you just come from love and tell and honor yourself. And I just said to this woman, I'm like, I just didn't feel like my body was telling me it's not for me. I don't even know why. She can't not respect that. She can't take it personally because it actually had nothing to do with her. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I really want people to hear this, right? And so Vanessa, this takes me to the spiritual piece because, oh, girlfriend, you said something in the email you sent me that you love to talk about the 3 phases of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And I also have never spoken to anybody about this on my podcast. So tell me what you mean by the 3. Let's talk about the 3 phases because I actually think this is powerful.
So something I realized last year, and I thought, oh my goodness, there's 3 phases to a spiritual journey. And that's just my experience. So I'd love to hear your experience as well. I have just seen in my coaching so many people getting stuck by spirituality. And I thought, why is this? Why is it actually keeping them stuck? So I looked back into the 3 phases. So here they are. Number 1 phase, you're going through life and you feel good. Ignorance is bliss. But then you get this little nudge, right? And I laugh too at this part because so many people think, oh man, wouldn't it be easier to just go back to that? Wouldn't it be easier to be ignorant? I don't think so, but here's why. So you're in this ignorance and then you get this nudge. Oh, I'm made for something more. There's something more to life. I'm seeking more peace or I'm seeking something. So then you go into this awakening part, step 2. Where you start to awaken to your connection to the world and yourself. And it's really cool and really beautiful. And you're learning all these fun tips and tools and techniques like meditation and all these other things. And a lot of people get stuck in phase 2 because it can be very addicting. And you keep thinking, oh, I have all these tools that I need to rely on in order for me to show up as my highest self. But I really want to encourage people into phase 3. And into phase 3 is this letting go of all of the tools and all of the things that brought you to stage 3. Stage 3 is your true embodiment and true trust of who you are, that you don't need all those tools, you don't need all those systems, because you can wake up and take a deep breath and feel the peace that you used to feel after an hour meditation. And it reminds me of, I'm not a runner because I actually hate running, but it's not my thing. But I envision someone going to a running clinic because they want to run a marathon and thinking, oh, I have to learn the mechanics of running and how do I move my feet and what shoes do I need? And that's great. That's your awakening. You're using all the tools. But when you actually get to the marathon, you're not thinking, what are my toes and feet and shoes doing? You are just moving because it is who you are. And that is that piece of becoming. And once you're her, that's where the trust that we've been talking to, so this all connects so well, really becomes important. Because if you don't trust yourself, you're going to get caught in your awakening your entire life and never be able to actually live and be present and continue to show up. Because when you are in this embodiment phase, The person that you are when you step into a room is everything. You will attract everyone and everything that you need because you just radiate.
And I feel like I see this with you, and I actually see this, and I even that I can hear in my head, Binu, like, you sure you want to say that? I'm like, I see this in both of us. Like, we now show up as that without having to try, without having to grab a tool, and people feel safe around us. It's like when people are coming up to you, like I sense that being in that room with you at Manifest Her, I saw you and I was like, oh, she has it.
Thanks. I worked hard for it.
Yeah. And you're making me remember a moment where I came about all this stillness work. And that's the other thing, Vanessa. Most people don't call it stillness. You're one of the very few people that call this stillness. It's all like, it all started with meditation. And I was around a lot of people that would say, oh, I suck at meditation. And I'd be like, what do you mean you suck at it? And I don't know, I didn't have this where it had to be like I had to have no thoughts, but I'd hear from people, well, I have thoughts. I'm like, well, you're supposed to have thoughts. Otherwise you'd be dead. Right. And so I remember somebody naming it stillness, one of my spiritual coaches. I'm like, oh, I like that. That feels more doable for people. And I practice just getting still in one moment, another moment, a breath here, a breath there, 10 in the shower, 3 before I got out of bed. And I had this moment once, which to me, when I think back, it's how I realized I didn't need the tools anymore. I didn't need to force the tools. I remember, like, I used to follow Gabby Bernstein, and she had this thing of like with her fingers. And if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, it's like, peace begins within me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to memorize that. Okay, I have to do that because I was that mom waking up, stress, to-do list, all the things. And I'd be like, peace begins within me. So that first day I decided to do it, I woke up and I couldn't remember it. 4 words. I couldn't remember it. All I remembered was peace. So I just started saying peace, 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 peace until I felt like a little more relaxed inside my body. And then I would get up, get the kids up and everything. And then I don't know how long it was, probably 6 months. And I remember this day, and honestly, it just chokes me up a bit. And I woke up and I heard the word peace. That's how I knew that all the training of this muscle has worked. And so when I heard you say that, it's like the third phase is integration, where you no longer rely on it because you trust yourself. It's because I've trained my mind and body and soul now to speak louder. Let my higher self speak louder, which is everything you're just talking about. So I just wanted to give that evidence. Like, it takes time, but it's a muscle that we have to train. We didn't learn how to train this muscle. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that, because whether you call it becoming her, integration, embodiment, it's like you just keep doing this without control, without have-tos. But that one day and I had this too, where somebody says, do you do breath work? So I didn't, like, breath work's new in my world. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's this breath work? And then when I learned some breath work, I'm like, oh, I did that. Like, I don't need it anymore. And I actually felt wrong for telling her, no, I don't need that. Right? It's like, you think like, oh, am I going to come across like I know it all? And then I thought, but I already breathe deeply. Like, I'm already connected to my higher self. And when I'm not, oh boy, I feel it.
And isn't that the best too, when a client doesn't need you anymore? I think that's the best thing, when they have so much trust, and maybe they'll reach out to you and just want your opinion. And I've worked with clients for years, but maybe just not as often. And when they have that trust, I am just so proud of them, right? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And even this conversation, it's actually perfect timing even for me, because I'm about to give birth to my second child.
Yes.
We had kids a little later in life. And it was really important to me in my first birth to not have an epidural. And whether you have an epidural, great, whatever. But for me, it was self-trust. It was, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. But all I know is it's just going to be one contraction at a time, one push at a time. And I just have to trust myself and trust my body and trust my baby that we're going to be able to get through. And I have the right support team. And at the end, I didn't know how I got through, but I just took it literally one
Wow.
breath at a time.
Wow.
And I'm gonna try to do the same for this, right? And it's just that good reminder because there's always those fears that come up. Even now, thinking, oh my gosh, she's coming in less than 2 months. What's it gonna be like? And how am I gonna birth this baby out of me? And you just talking, just even I heard it in my head, just one breath at a time. And
Vanessa,
yeah.
the advantage of having babies, as you said, a little bit later, because like my first two, I had the opposite. Like I had no clue, listened to all the chaos in the hospital room. Like I was so stressed. Like I didn't get to have that experience. But my third child, that's when I started doing this work. And I even noticed like my whole experience with birth and with after, even having two younger kids around me was so much calmer. And you know what's interesting? I'll just share this and I think we should wrap up. But my first childbirth experience, there was this OB I had, and he was this older man, and he was truly calm. Honestly, I think like this is part of the journey too. All the nurses were freaking out. They were like talking about getting the vacuum out, and I was like freaking out, like, what is this? He comes in and he just says to everybody, I think we need to let Binu rest. And they're all looking at him like, no, you don't understand. Like, baby's stuck. We need a vacuum. And he's like, let's just give her a minute. I honestly think that there's these angels out there doing this work without talking about the work. And so I see like you're going to have experience with like this kind of person delivering your baby that's like, let's just turn the lights off. And I tell you, it turned everything around, and I did not need a vacuum, and all was well. And I think back to that, and I wonder if that planted a seed in my head of when life got crazy, just to take a moment, turn the lights off, and just be.
That's really beautiful. And that also reminds me of what you said in when you were talking about your boundaries and things shifting with your friends, because when you do it, you inspire others. And after I gave birth to my first child, my midwife said, oh, that was fun. Oh, really? She goes, well, we don't really get too many non-epidural, natural births. And that was really fun to watch. I'm like, well, I'm glad it was fun for you. But it still has stuck with her, watching me be in my trust and trust my body. And when you just continue to follow what's right for you, you really do inspire others. And those that aren't inspired are often triggered, but it's because you're triggering something in them.
Yes.
That is awakening something that maybe they're avoiding, but that's not yours to figure out, which I always have to remind myself. It's not mine to figure out. And it doesn't matter, right? It's just, you have so much power to really change the world around you when you are in your power.
That's a good mic drop moment to end with. Like, how beautiful is that? Vanessa, just talking to you today, like you've given me some of my own insight with just some business things that I've been like sitting with and a little bit of overthinking. And I've just dropped in and have a little bigger trust for myself with a couple things that I was sitting with. So thank you. Like, it's actually just like filling my heart with like, but this is a strong message I think we've left with everybody. Let everybody know where they can find you if they want to work with you or reach out to you.
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram or my website. So my website is just vanessaortali.com, and my Instagram handle, actually on every social media platform is the same. It's I am Vanessa O. So I am Vanessa O. Send me a DM. I'm always checking my messages. And yeah, or send me an email and we can connect and chat and see where you're at. So yeah, I also love when people message me and let me know what resonated with them in this conversation. Please let me know. I want to see what landed, and what you're taking from this conversation really means a lot to see how you're implementing them in your life, because, I often tell people, you don't need another podcast, you don't need another book, but it's because of what we've been saying. What are you actually going to take from this conversation and either embody or integrate. Just take that one thing and maybe take a moment right now to just think what really stood out to you and how can I start to live that in my life? Because we're always in consumption mode, that we're, like we said, the three stages of spirituality, we're always consuming, that we don't actually start to be. So how can you be from this conversation? Thank you so much for holding the space for this conversation.
Vanessa,
You
this
are
is
lovely.
You are just so lovely. We were meant to come together, and I think there's going to be more in our future. I just feel it, like we're meant to do some stuff. And so I'm going to drop all those links in the show notes for everyone to reach out to you. And I actually encourage everybody to do that and to leave a review on Apple or Spotify, because that's the way I get these messages out to the world. And this is one I really want to make an effort to get out to more people, because to me, this is everything. So Vanessa, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you listening. If this episode resonated with you and you wish to speed up your growth, feel free to check out my programs and services. Just go to my website, binu.ca. And if you know someone else who is seeking more meaning in life and could use some inspiration and high vibes along the way, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world. And it goes a long way if you take a few seconds right now and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful.